Hi everybody and welcome back. This is round 3 of a competitive modern league with Jeskai, Tempo Flash Midrange Geist. And we're playing the list. I'm playing the list that you see before you. Liking it. I am already ready to make a couple of changes, but I think I should wait and talk about them as I get a little bit further into the league. I've been happy with Coronos. I've been happy with Wormquill Engine, whatever. Let me get through some more matches, and we'll talk a bit about that kind of stuff at the end. I'm not going to do a deck tech. I'll just say the reason I'm testing Wormcoil Engine is because Death Shadow can't counter it. Coronos is, and kind of has always been, a late game powerhouse. I'm trying Restoration Angel. I want to see how Blade Splicers block small creatures like out of the Humans deck. Obviously, Restoration Angel, Blade Splicer are great, and I miss Restoration Angel and Snapcaster Mage. Alright, see you guys in a second for round 3. Alright, everybody, let's get round 3 underway. So this hand is... it's fine. I went ahead and kept it. It has... we're on the... what do you call it? On the draw, so we might be able to get good use out of Spell Snare on turn 2, and if we're playing against a creature deck, we can go like Steam Vents into Plains, into Helix. We're not yet able to cast this Logic Knot, but we have a draw step, so there's a good chance that we're going to be able to pick up this other blue source, and then we also have a nice threat for later in the game. So if we can pick up a blue source, we have nice pieces of interaction kind of working up the chain towards the old Restoration Angel. Found the other blue source, which is great. Our opponent goes Plains, so this is going to lead me to believe that we didn't see Vile, but it could be... it's probably Death and Taxes. It could be Hate Bears, which not many people are playing. It could technically be White-Black Tokens. So it's probably White-Black Tokens or Death and Taxes or something like that. So... the fact that he didn't, if it's like White-Black Tokens, we might see something like a Bitter Blossom on turn 2, which would make Spell Snare really great. But we just play a land and pass. And our opponent, I'm going to be pausing this a lot. I remember my opponent did a lot of pausing on their end. Okay, so this is, now it's either, it could be like some kind of white-black Eldrazi. It could be white-black Death and Taxes. It could be white-black Tokens. Black-white, white-black, whatever. All of those things are potentials. Let's go ahead and fetch. We didn't get to use our Spell Snare. That's okay. We're going to get a Steam Vents, put it into play. Probably shock ourselves with this Hollowed Fountain. That way we can have Logic Knot up and pass the turn. Opponent plays land number 3, Caves of Koilios. So this is kind of a telltale sign, I think, that we're probably looking at some kind of Eldrazi deck. It's hard to say. It could still be black. It could still be Death and Taxes, and it actually could still be some kind of what do you call it? The reason it could potentially still be Death and Taxes is obviously this means that they get to, if it's Death and Taxes, it could be the one with the Eldrazi, and this means that they don't have to fetch, so that it doesn't interact negatively with their Leonin Arbiter. It's probably a little less likely now that it's that it is black-white tokens, but it still could be, and it could also just be not Death and Taxes. It could be like some kind of Eldrazi deck. So let's see what we see here. Okay, so Lingering Souls. So this leads me to think that we're facing off against a black-white token strategy. And I really strongly considered Logic Knotting here, because we only have one Electrolyze in the deck, so if he doesn't find another Lingering Souls and we can find the Electrolyze, then we can clean up the other half of the Lingering Souls. It also means he doesn't really do much with this turn. But what I'm worried about at this point is actually that it is a token strategy, and I don't want them to resolve something like a Sorin. I think it's Lord of Innistrad, whatever one it is, or maybe even they could be running Liliana of the Veil. And I'm kind of hoping that maybe there's a chance I can find an Electrolyze, pick off part of the Spirit tokens, and maybe start attacking Restoration Angel into them. If I can kill one of the 4 tokens, then they can't block and kill Restoration Angel. Now, they probably have a path to exile, so that may not be the winning line, but I felt like I needed to save this. But I think you could go either way with it. You also have the other thing to consider here is if you counter the first half of Lingering Souls and they do have a Planeswalker, you have a Lightning Helix to at least interact with it. But I guess at the time I felt like maybe there's a chance I can beat the Lingering Souls tokens, but if they resolve a Planeswalker, I might not be able to beat that every turn. So let's go ahead and see what our pickup is. It's another land. I'm going to pass back here. Opponent swings in with some Lingering Souls tokens and plays a flashes back. Let's see here. Okay, so my initial assumptions were probably wrong. What this deck probably is the white-black Eldrazi Processors deck, and I don't know that they always played Lingering Souls, but they're playing Wasteland Strangler, and so that means that they're also probably playing things like Flicker Wisp, because what they can do with Flicker Wisp is exile a card underneath Flicker Wisp and then play Wasteland Strangler and put it in your graveyard. So that might be something they're doing. They also can do that with Tidehollow Sculler, and they're probably playing some number of Thought-Knot Seers and Reality Smashers. So when I saw this, I felt like, well, shoot, I probably should have just countered the Lingering Souls because there's less likely a chance for them to have Planeswalkers and such. But we have an answer to it with this Lightning Helix. So opponent chooses to path it. Makes me wonder about something like Reality Smasher. Actually also makes me, I again feel worried. I'm like, are they playing some other really large Eldrazi? If they're really looking to ramp themselves into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 mana. I felt a little unsure about exactly what was going on because, if I don't recall, because I thought it was white-black or black-white tokens, and then it's Eldrazi, and I don't remember Eldrazi and tokens being played together, or the Lingering Souls, and maybe they did, and I just don't remember. Maybe they did, in fact. It's just because I'm thinking back to a tournament that I played when I still lived in Hawaii forever ago, and it was a white-black Eldrazi Processors deck, and I think they actually did play Lingering Souls. It's just been so long since I've seen the deck, so I felt a little thrown off. But now in retrospect, I think I should have counted the first half of Lingering Souls because it's probably less likely that I'm going to find a target for this. It's more likely that I'm gonna, with only one Electrolyze in the deck, it's gonna be hard for me to fight through these Spirit tokens, basically. All right, opponent swings in with some Spirit tokens. Plays another Wasteland Strangler. So an argument could have been made for logic knotting this Wasteland Strangler instead of, because if we think it's Eldrazi, maybe we have less targets for this and we want to save our removal spells for some of their big creatures. Hold on, something's beeping. Oh, whatever, I'll ignore it. Anyway, so go ahead and put a land on the bottom. I believe we kept the Lightning Helix on top. No, that's right. I put both, so I untapped, I pathed the dude, untapped, played a Serum Visions, and I'm looking for Electrolyze. I'm looking for a way to clean up these tokens. Cryptic Command is a start. If I can, I also need to apply pressure, I feel like. I didn't mention it because I accidentally skipped forward, but this Vault of the Archangel is probably actually going to seal the deal for us. It means that we're never going to be able to profitably block the spirit tokens with anything. He's going to be able to kill everything. It's also going to make our burn and burnout plan really bad. It's going to be difficult to win from this point. And this Logic Knot is still here rotting in my hand. It's, I think it was probably correct to counter the first half of Lingering Souls, but it does bear mentioning that we're in a bad position and he hasn't even flashed the other half back. So even if we had done that, we might have not been able to. It might not have changed anything. Opponent attacks him with some Lingering Souls. We don't know what's on top of our deck. Oh, we do. We put a Cryptic Command on top, and I think the Geist on top of that. The Geist was probably, I should have just put that at the bottom. But I remember thinking, I was like, well, I don't know. I need to try to close the game out. Maybe I can blah, blah, blah. But that was I think, wrong to keep the Geist. Opponent really kind of mushes us in the face. I'm going to go ahead and bounce one. I mean, if I put the Geist on the bottom, I'd be in much better position here to maybe draw into that Electrolyze and begin getting myself out of this. So if I could do it again, I wouldn't have put the Geist there. But our opponent is extremely intent on keeping us from gaining life or drawing extra cards, chooses to kill one of his own tokens, fizzling our Cryptic Command. We draw that Geist, which we know isn't good. I'm forced to... I didn't actually shock with the Sacred Foundry. So, again, if I could do this differently, I probably would have counted the first half of the Lingering Souls, and I would have put the Geist on the bottom, not on top. All I needed to do was look at the Vault of the Archangel and just realize that I'm not really going to get out of this with aggression. Opponent follows things up here by playing a Mutavault, attacking in, activating Vault, gaining more life. Things are kind of just really spiraling out of control for me. Attack for 6, but this is just a really futile, silly attack. And we lose the Logic Knot that we didn't do anything with. We have to flash in Restoration Angel here. I'm unwilling to throw away the Geist, but I probably should have. And that's going to be the game. All right, now as far as sideboarding, what came out were... What I decided to do was become the best control deck that I thought I could be. So I wanted to get rid of all of my creatures, hoping to strand removal in his hand, and just, not all but Snapcaster Mage, and basically make his removal useless. So I took out 4 Spellquellers, 2 Geists, and 2 Restoration Angels, along with the Vendilion Click, which I think is 9 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The cards I brought in were Kuranos, God of Storms, a Negate, a Counterflux, I didn't bring the Disdainful Stroke. I brought in the Gate, I brought in the Counterflux, I brought in all of my sweepers, so that would have been 3 cards. The Izzet Staticaster, which obviously looks really good here, the Engineered Explosives, the Settle the Wreckage, and I believe I also brought in a Wear Tear, which might seem strange, and I actually do think it was probably wrong to do so, but I remember at the time I was thinking, wait, don't they run some kind of artifact, or, does he still have Bitter Blossom? I saw those Lingering Souls. Wear Tear shouldn't have come in. It was sort of a... I still had this thought that he was a tokens deck, and I don't think it was right to do that. I also did bring in, I believe I brought in Celestial Purge as well, which is another maybe questionable one, but for some reason I was just stuck in this head about Black Planeswalkers. I don't think any of that was going to be too much of a concern. So let me see what cards with that again. It was the three sweepers, the Koranos, the two counter spells. That's 6, and then there was 3 other cards. The Wear Tear, and then what were my other 2? Relic of Progenitus and Celestial Purge. Okay, so let's see how the game goes. I probably have a couple of cards in my deck that I shouldn't. Seems fine. We know what we're playing against. We know what we're playing against. We know what we're looking for. So, Scalding Tarn. Oh, the other thing I did that's interesting is I opted to be on the draw. I felt like my opponent's probably not going to have a super fast start, and I want the extra card more than I want to go first. My opponent, again, doesn't do anything. As a Staticaster is a perfect pickup. I'm pretty sure my turn is Scalding Tarn into Hallowed Fountain, Serum Visions. See a land and a Snapcaster Mage. Both of these are probably going on top. Yeah, so I put the Snapcaster on top, followed by the Scalding Tarn. Let's go ahead and end this turn. Opponent's second turn is nothing. I do go ahead and shock with the Steam Vents. I know there's a Snapcaster. Oh, I guess I don't. Oh, that's right. Because I just wanted to, since we're not under any pressure. I remember I wanted to just get these Serum Visions out of my hand. I'm going to go ahead and use them. Draw the card we know is on top. Get a couple Scry's. Look for some more lands. Excellent. Click through too quickly. I don't remember what I put on top of my library, but I want to say that land also went on top. So we'll know because we'll see what my next draw step is. So we'll just wait a moment here. Opponent's probably short on lands if they went Plains Ghost Quarter instead of 2 colored sources. I'm going to guess that he just top decked that. And his play is a Lingering Souls. All right, well, we have a good answer to that in Is It Staticaster? Okay, so I must have put. Well, I guess the next draw step we'll see what I drew. It might actually, it might have been Relic of Progenitus. I think that might have been what I put on top first. Now I want to get as much value out of this Is It Staticaster as I can, so I'm willing to take a hit from these 2 spirit tokens, and then if he still doesn't, I'm willing to take a hit from some spirit tokens, hold up this Logic Knot if I need it. I want him to play out as many Lingering Souls as he possibly can. So at this point, like I said, I'm pretty sure there's Relic of Progenitus on top of my library. And I'm going to be able to basically play the Is It Staticaster, take care of both halves of this Lingering Souls, and I'm going to be able to play a Relic of Progenitus and crack it if I want to while holding up Logic Knot. So I'm going to be able to completely get rid of all of these Lingering Souls tokens, and he can't immediately kill my Is It Staticaster either. I mean, I get to play it and then untap with it. So I'm going to go ahead and play this Is It Staticaster, kill these spirit tokens, untap, draw the relic as I discussed. And the reason I went ahead and fetched and shocked is because I know that there is a Settle the Wreckage in my deck, and I want to get double white. Play the relic, and I could just crack it, but what I actually have the option to do is go ahead and just activate it, eat 1 Lingering Souls, and then I can hold up. I can basically Logic Knot for 4 here. So depending upon what he does with his turn, I can Logic Knot for 4 and then activate the Relic of Progenitus with another mana. So I just exile and pass the turn back. Another interesting use with Is It Staticaster is it can kill a Thought-Knot Seer by teaming up with Lightning Bolt or Lightning Helix. So opponent goes for the Collective Brutality. I want to conceal the contents of our hand more than anything else. And so since I'm going to be logic knotting most of the stuff away, what I choose to go ahead and do is counter the Collective Brutality. And he didn't leave black mana up, so it doesn't look like it could be able to flash back this Lingering Souls. If I wanted to be super safe, what I probably should have done there is just, I could have Relicked immediately to get that Lingering Souls out of the graveyard. And it actually would have also, so if I put the counter on the stack and then activated Relic, then I get rid of the Lingering Souls, and our Logic Knot then goes into the graveyard, so we get to potentially save it for later. So if I knew that's what I wanted to do, that would have been that would have been something to do. But I remember one thing I was afraid of, because did he play that Plains this turn? Yeah, so he didn't actually play a land this turn, and I remember thinking, okay, well, if I do that, if he goes land, Thought-Knot Seer, then I lose this Path to Exile. Now, I could still kill it with Is It Staticaster in combination with Lightning Helix, but I just decided not to. I decided to be wary. So go ahead and crack the Relic, get rid of the Lingering Souls, draw a card, which is another land. That's another reason to activate the Relic, because we need to hit a land. We did find another Electrolyze, which is good because that means if our Is It Staticaster does die, we have an answer to a whole nother card of Lingering Souls in the form of Electrolyze, Snap Electrolyze. Wasteland Strangler. So it's a really interesting decision here. Our Is It Staticaster's already done a good bit of work for us, but knowing that he probably has a bunch of big Eldrazi in his deck, and that we still have bolts and things in our deck, I thought for a little bit about what do I do about this Wasteland Strangler? Do I let it resolve, killing the Is It Staticaster, and then Helixing the Wasteland Strangler? That kind of puts us down on cards. Or do I just Cryptic Command the Wasteland Strangler so that we go up a card and he goes down a card, knowing that then if he plays a Thought-Knot Seer, I can answer it with Is It Staticaster and Lightning Helix, or a combination of Lightning Helix and Electrolyze. And at the it's hard to say exactly what was better, but I decided that I just didn't want him to get a 2-for-1 against me. And this also is really it's insulating us from future Lingering Souls, and it's making our burn a bit better against his larger creatures. So I decided to go ahead and just counter draw that thing. And unfortunately, our Snapcaster Mages are now pretty awful because we have nothing in our graveyard and he has a lot of mana. This is probably going to stick around, and it's going to be hard for us to get value out of our Snapcaster Mages. He chooses to Surgical Extract the Cryptic Commands, which is a bit unfortunate. Thankfully, we drew a Counterflux, which our counter spells are quite good in this matchup. And this is I want to point something out I said about Counterflux, because I think it's actually in a pretty reasonable spot in that against decks like Tron, I think a 3-mana counter's fine. Against decks like Valakut, I also think it's fine. And I think what's good about Counterflux is that it hits everything in Valakut and Tron that you want to hit, but then it's also good against in the blue mirrors, especially like against blue-white X, or just like blue-white decks, because they can basically never resolve, as long as you keep 3 mana up, they can, and they don't click it away, they can never resolve a Planeswalker, or anything that you don't want them to resolve. And against Storm, it's also completely relevant. So I'm actually really happy with the one of Counterflux in the deck. And as I said, in the deck tech, against a lot of decks, just bringing in Counterflux, Negate, and Disdainful Stroke is really good. Like against Tron, that's totally fine. Valakut, that's totally fine. Even against that same package, Counterflux, Negate, Disdainful Stroke, even against Storm would be fine. So, and like here, you know, I'm able to, because we know it's going to be a grinding long matchup, I'm able to bring in something that just kind of hits anything we might want to hit. Opponent just played a Tide Hollow Sculler, and so we're not gonna counter that. He gets to sort of have the information that he wants to have. Opponent's down to, things are going pretty well. Opponent is down to 2 cards in hand. We have a counter spell, a removal spell, a removal spell. The Snapcaster Mage is pretty dead, but and what I decide to do here is what I'm looking for is I want to find Karanos. The fact that we don't have any more cryptics in our deck is unfortunate. Our Izzet seems to be hanging around, so I'm assuming he doesn't have Lingering Souls plus removal spell or some combination thereof. But I decide to go ahead and Helix the Tide Hollow Sculler now, and if I remember correctly, I think I just immediately Electrolyze. Because the thing is here, opponent has 2 cards, we have an answer to probably whatever they could be. And I want to start trying as best as we can to cantrip through our deck, because at this point, like, with our opponent having 2 cards and us having these answers, if we can just find a Karanos and slam it, we're going to win the game. Kline would normally be good, but unfortunately it's not really a card right now because of Ghost Quarter. Opponent just passes the turn back, which is fine. I think going long, the longer the game goes, the better advantaged we are. We have cards like Serum Visions in our library to help us manipulate it and find what we're looking for, whereas our opponent does not. So Serum Visions reveals a Settle the Wreckage and a Negate. I'll keep both of these. The Negate, I brought it in just in case there was like non-creature spells that I wanted to counter. Things like Collective Brutality, Inquisition, Thoughtseize, anything like that, you know, if we want to protect our hand, or if he has non-creature spells that we hadn't considered. If you have a bunch of stuff in the graveyard and they play a relic, it's completely fine to negate that. So I put the Settle the Wreckage on top, followed by a Negate. So in these super long games, kind of like what we're playing here, even though he's probably mostly creatures, you know, he could very easily just be waiting around like, all right, I'm not going to do anything. I'm not under any pressure. I have an answer to this guy's Colonnade. I'm just going to draw until I find Hand Disruption and then clear the path for what he wants to do. So I like the Negate to protect us from that. Opponent just passes the turn. We draw the Negate that we put on top of the library. Opponent now has 4 cards. It does make me wonder, like, what... I'm really curious what is in his hand. At this point, I remember thinking, okay, it's he either just has like 3 removal spells, and he's just waiting to use them, meaning because we don't have any creatures for him to use them on, or he just doesn't want to run. He has things like Reality Smashers and Thought-Knot Seers, but he knows that we have counter spells and removal, and he's looking for a way to clear the path. Opponent just is playing draw go with us. The Snapcaster Mages are starting to look a little annoying. But our hand is good. We have a lot of answers. Opponent plays a land and says go. Now, I really don't want to discard anything, and my Snapcasters aren't doing anything, and so it's like, well, if he's holding a bunch of removal, then they're probably just going to die, but I'm never getting around this Relic of Progenitus, and what I don't want to do is untap and draw a real spell and discard one of my real spells. I guess you could make the argument for not doing what I'm about to do by saying, well, you have a lot of mana up, so just go to your draw step, and if you draw a land, great, and if you don't, play a Snapcaster Mage on your main phase. But I decided to play one end step because I don't want to discard it. And unfortunately, I drew a land, so I wouldn't have had to discard it. Maybe it would have been better to do what I say there, because even if I played a Snapcaster Mage now, I'm still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 7 lands untapped, and that's going to be enough to like counterflux and settle, or path and negate, or do a bunch of stuff. So, if I could have done that again, just looking at the spells I had and the mana I had, I would have just waited. But it eats a path, which makes me think that my opponent must have no Lingering Souls in his hand. Maybe he's taken some out, or maybe he only has 2 in his deck. I don't know. The fact that he's just letting this as a static caster stick around, though, if he has Lingering Souls, is beyond me. So I'm just thinking he must not actually have them in the deck. Or rather, that he only has a couple. But even that, I'd much rather him path the Snapcaster Mage, because, again, this could team up with Burn at some point to kill a 4 toughness creature. Opponent plays a land, says go. There's a mountain left in our library. We're back up to 7 cards. Did I skip something? No, I don't think so. Exile the Flooded Strand. We're getting in the situation where I don't want to discard a Snapcaster Mage, so I play it, but for the same reasons I said before, I probably could have just held on to it because I have so much mana, and the exact same thing happened. Looks like he was worried about a Geist of St. Traft. I'm really not worried about this. He can gain life. I'm in it for the long haul, so I sacrifice my Snapcaster Mage. I'm just going to activate Relic, of course. Take his turn. Plays land, go again. We draw a Burn spell. And I'm pretty sure that we have a mountain left in our library, but nothing else that this Flooded Strand can get. All right, so opponent still does nothing. I Helix him just because I, again, don't want to have to discard a card. All right, Serum Vengeance is a great pickup. So let's go ahead and I want to get... We don't have too many, you know... I want to get another land out of the library. I know that he's got this Ghost Quarter, and but we have a mountain left in the deck. So I want to go ahead and fetch that and play the Serum Visions and see what we can see. So what we have on top are 2 really great cards, but I have kind of an embarrassment of riches at this point. I have 3 paths. I have a Settle the Wreckage. You know, I don't really need the Engineered Explosives. He clearly doesn't care that much about my is a Staticaster. So I decided to put both of these on the bottom. I just don't need them. I'm looking for Kuranos. That's my plan for this game, is to, you know, I only have 23 cards left in the library, so I should hopefully draw it at some point. Exile a card. Opponent finally plays a Thoughtseize, and I think that's basically, I think he's probably lost his patience at this point. We negate the Thoughtseize, and I think that's basically been what he's been trying to do, as I said before. So he has stuff. He just doesn't want it to get countered. He doesn't want it to get answered. So he's been waiting for this Thoughtseize, and I countered it. So he's probably like, all right, I've had enough of this. I don't really want this to resolve. It probably wouldn't matter, to be honest, but because we have a pretty redundant hand, we can just kill the Thought-Knot Seer, but I decided to go ahead and counterflux it anyway. Fall to the Archangel is annoying. Reality Smasher. So I could path it and discard a card, but I just want to stay up on cards as our against our opponent as much as possible. And I don't know how many more threats he has, but if he has another Reality Smasher, we'll still be able to path it. But I go ahead and just decide to settle the wreckage to this Reality Smasher, because then I basically get to kill his Reality Smasher without losing a single card. Rather, not a single card, but I don't have to lose 2 cards because of the triggered ability. If you don't know what I'm talking about, as soon as I target Reality Smash with Path to Exile, I have to discard a card, or else the Path to Exile will get countered. So I'd have to like path it and then Helix, discard a Helix or something like that. But I think at this point, just settling it is fine. More burn. And conveniently, our opponent actually tapped out, so I'm going to go ahead and get a smash in with Colonnade while I have the chance to do so. That happens. Opponent exiles a card, pass the turn back to our opponent. Opponent plays a Shambling Event. We have burn spells to take care of that. Snapcaster Mage, which probably isn't going to do anything. Opponent just doesn't even bother to fire up the Shambling Vent. And we finally found Karanos with 20 cards left in the library. He's probably going to shut the door on this game, so let's go ahead and tap out for that dude. I'm sure the opponent's like, ugh, Karanos, great. I doubt he brought in Celestial Purge. But that's a good cue for him to go ahead and crack the Relic of Progenitus, because he's going to have to find an answer to that, if even possible. So it's good. Now we're just in such an amazing position against a creature-based deck. We have double of any of these. Our Snapcaster Mage is back online. And even against Lingering Souls, if he eventually finds more and kills this as a Static Caster, we can start picking them off with Karanos. We're at 16 life. We really can't ask to be in a better position than we are. And I think our opponent looks at our 6-card hand, looks at Karanos, looks at his Static Caster, and says, alright, dude, you win. And concedes. Game 3. Okay, here for Game 3. And there's that Wear Tear that we probably should have just taken out. This is one in hand. This is a mulligan. This is a bit slow, but it's fine. Our opponent is not a really fast deck. We have 2 counter spells. We have a removal spell. Looks pretty good to me. I'll probably put that Colonnade on top and just go Colonnade, and hope that's good enough. So play a Colonnade, pass the turn back. Opponent plays a Tidehollow Sculler, which could be annoying, especially if he gets to play the Processing Dude and just... Actually, that wouldn't really matter because this is currently exiled, so he could... it's not like he's... just putting that in our graveyard is fine with regards to Snapcaster Mage. But the reason that I decided to sequence this way instead of playing the Colonnade is my opponent untaps and goes... Eldrazi Temple, Thought-Knot Seer. I want to be able to kill the Tidehollow Sculler and path the... Kill the Tidehollow Sculler and path the Thought-Knot Seer. Opponent swings in with the Tidehollow Sculler. Let's see what his follow-up play is. Vault to the Archangel. Okay, and it is a Eldrazi Displacer. Alright, well, what I decided to go ahead and do here is, I know it's giving him a land, but I decide to just, I want to clear all this out right now. So I bolt the Tidehollow Sculler, path to exile the Eldrazi Displacer, and I know that I'm going to be able to untap and have Counterflux up, and I know he's not running Cavern of Souls. So I know that I can protect myself against the scariest stuff. Would be like Thought-Knot Seer and or Reality Smasher. Also, knowing that my game plan is just to go long, just being able to like answer his threats, the more turns I buy, the more draw steps I buy is kind of going in line with what my plan is. And we drew another land that can come into play untapped, which is great because that means that I can also sit on this Cryptic Command now. Alright, here at the opponent's main phase. Man, I feel like this video is taking forever. I'm trying to pause as much as I can, the recording at least, so that you guys don't have to wait while I wait. I wish that Magic Online, when you press this button, would just advance to the next step and didn't take into account the game time that the opponent's been waiting, but it really seems to, and I just kind of hate that. Okay, so Kalidas would also be super annoying. So decide to go ahead and get the island and just counter Kalidas. I don't have a good answer for him. Counterspell seems like a good one. Shock with Steam Vents. Hold up Cryptic Command. And now we're not doing amazing. It's okay. Opponent has 3 cards. We have a Cryptic Command. And then we just have some lands. So hopefully we can find some action here. Hopefully our opponent taps out and we get to counter draw something and maybe find like another Cryptic Command. Opponent does have a Thought-Knot Seer. I can't think of a better target for Cryptic Command. Maybe Reality Smasher. But anyway, Cryptic Commanding this seems great. So we go ahead and do that. Another land. That's unfortunate. Opponent plays a land, passes the turn back. Just going to play Colonnade and go for the best here. Pass the turn back to our opponent. Alright, opponent puts the Thought-Knot Seer on the stack. Obviously, it's just going to get this Lightning Helix. If we don't do anything with it, we'll just get exiled, so we're going to fire it at the face. We have nothing better to do with it. We need to find an answer to this Thought-Knot Seer, though. It is a real clock. Fortunately for us, he doesn't have a Ghost Quarter in play currently, and we do have a Celestial Colonnade to block the Thought-Knot Seer. So there's, I think, a chance that works because he probably saw last turn that the only use for his Path to Exiles were for our Snapcaster Mages. So I wouldn't be surprised if he boarded nearly all of his removal out if he hadn't already. Alright, there's a negate. Hopefully we'll find a good use for that. The fact that our opponent's attacking into our Colonnade means that he either forgot that we have the Colonnade or just has a removal spell, or just feels like, you know, he needs to start, it just needs to try to kill us and grind through what we have. So I kind of expect this to get killed. Sorry. Kind of expect this to get killed, but it doesn't. We get to go to blocks, and we actually get to trade, so that's really good for us to get rid of that pressure that we were under. We pick up a Settle the Wreckage, which is really nice. Fortunately, there is a third Thought-Knot Seer. We are going to lose that Settle the Wreckage. So this game kind of looks like it's not going in our favor. We have a negate, but we can't even counter the Relic of Progenitus because we're tapped out. He decides to go ahead and crack it right away. Finds a Ghost Quarter, which is really unfortunate for us because now we are certainly going to probably die to this Thought-Knot Seer because we're not going to be able to block with Colonnade. So let's just, there's nothing in the libraries now. We need to find an answer to this Thought-Knot Seer. Let's go ahead and crack the Relic of Progenitus, see what we can see. All right, it's a Serum Vision, so that's a good pickup. Maybe we can find a removal spell. And oh my gosh, we found a Wear Tear that probably shouldn't have come in the deck. But man, there's Karanos. Okay, so we want to put that island on the bottom, put the Karanos on top. We want to also put the one of the reasons we don't want to draw, one of the reasons we don't want to draw the island is we want to trigger this Karanos. And so if we can put the island on the bottom and then trigger it with like a bolt, then we can team the bolt up with a Karanos trigger to actually kill this Thought-Knot Seer. So it's going to put the island on the bottom, put the Karanos on top, play the Sacred Foundry, and hold up negate for whatever that might do. Probably nothing. But, you know, like right now we don't need to protect our hand from a hand disruption spell. But, you know, there could be a valid reason to... There could be a target. We'll see. Opponent attacks in with Thought-Knot Seer. Gains some life. Shoots our Colonnade. What a mean person, because now we can't fetch. We just have to say no, because we want to draw that Karanos. That's the only thing that's going to get us out. And there's still a chance it's not enough. It's not like it's gaining life. So we say no. I say no. And boom. There's Karanos. Alright, so we don't know what's on the top for the Karanos trigger, but we are definitely going to play Karanos and pass the turn back. Now if we can kill this Thought-Knot Seer, though, Karanos is going to take over the game again, and things will hopefully start spiraling out of control for our opponent. And boom. The trigger's Path to Exile, which is great. So, but now we don't actually have to team up his trigger with the bolt. We can just put the trigger to the face. We have the answer, Path to Exile. So we're just going to pass the turn back, and then on our opponent's turn, kill the Thought-Knot Seer. Oh, yeah, that was super annoying. So you saw I actually took the damage from the Thought-Knot Seer. Clearly I didn't want to do that. I was just clicking number 1, and I clicked too many times, and it just advanced me over to damage, which is stinky. So I took the damage completely unintentionally. And I even sent my opponent a message. I was like, man, I hope that doesn't come back to bite me. These are just silly things that happen sometimes in Magic Online that would never happen in real life. So we pass the Thought-Knot Seer. Now we're kind of dead to a Reality Smasher, unfortunately. Draw a land. Karanos reveals a land, which means we draw a card, and it's another land. So if he draws a Reality Smasher here, we're quite dead. Kind of wonder what all of these cards are in our opponent's hand. I guess there's a chance that he didn't take out the removal spells. Draw another land, but this is what Karanos is for. All right, so great. So now we are completely insulated against Reality Smasher. We have a removal spell for any creature that he might play. Probably not going to be a Thought-Knot Seer. We've already seen 3 of those this game. Wasteland Strangler. Yeah, we're not going to do anything. We're just going to see what Karanos does, and maybe Karanos will kill it. Reveals the second Snapcaster Mage. Okay, our hand's getting really good. Karanos is really taking over the game. We get to kill the Wasteland Strangler with the Karanos trigger. Suddenly things are, not even suddenly, but we're really beginning to see here just like how great Karanos can be, because we were going to die to that Thought-Knot Seer, and now our hand is just getting better and better. Okay, Lightning Helix is good. It's going to insulate us from suddenly dying to anything. And the world is beginning to feel like our oyster. We have Snap Path, Snap Helixes. We have a Karanos on the battlefield. Looks like a fine target for a negate. Glad I brought it in. Serum Visions, alright. That was Engineered Explosives, and why am I still going here? Oh, because I have play. I'm trying to hit number 5 to stop it. So I put the Engineered Explosives and, was it Serum Visions? I put both cards on top. It doesn't really matter. Opponent decides to Inquisition. Our hand is really redundant with Snapcaster Mages. I decided to go ahead and just fire this Helix off just because I want to gain the life. I didn't really need to, because even if he took the Helix, I could just snap Helix at instant speed if I needed to, but and our opponent actually sent us a message, just said LOL and conceded. Again, we drew really well off the Chronos with all of these Snapcaster mages, but you know, we have snaps, we have path snaps, we have so many cards, and Chronos is just, I mean, even with that Lightning Helix in the graveyard, even if we snap path something, then with a Chronos trigger, we can bolt a big creature, snap Helix the big creature. So yeah, both of these games won by Chronos. All right, everybody, I hope that you enjoyed the video. Thank you very much for watching. I'll just mention my photography channel again for my last video. Put a link up here. And I will see you guys on Thursday for round 4. Bye for now. Oh, one small thing just to let you guys know about if you've made it this far. I'm actually going to Bern Switzerland, because I am going to visit their Modern League. There's a guy by the name of Daniel, and he has reached out to me on numerous occasions. We just chatted back and forth about Jeskai decks. I knew that he lived in Switzerland. He's invited me many times to come visit their league. But, you know, it's a bit far to go 2 to 3 hours to play like in one night of Magic. I think it's a 2-hour train ride or something like that. But being that I'm leaving Switzerland, I did still want to go, and so I'm going with the main Magic the Gathering organizer of Geneva. His name is Alan, and we're kind of going together and going to go do a little meet and greet and play some Magic and have a good time, and maybe we'll drink some beers after, and I'm going to vlog it and do my best to show you guys what that was like and bring you along with me. Okay, that's going to do it. Bye for now.